For all your heating and cooling needs, you need endless energy.
HVAC systems that we sell typically range somewhere between $10,000 and about $50,000. It really depends on the size of your house, the type of system that you want, whether you're getting new ductwork, you have old ductwork, you're going for a mini split system, how difficult it is to run line sets in your house. There's all sorts of different factors that can go into pricing for that. Our pricing comes from a variety of factors: how difficult it is to do the install at your house, how many man hours we think are going to be involved in that install, if we anticipate any problems that might be hidden behind the walls of your house or what your walls are made of. So things like horsehair plaster might make an install more difficult because the walls just aren't as strong as you might get with sheetrock. And then things like how tall your house is. If we have to get up on 40-foot ladders, that's going to be a lot more expensive than if we're doing everything at ground level, because it's more dangerous for our guys and we want to make sure that they have everything they need to be safe. So there are a couple of different factors that go into our pricing, but for the most part, it's materials, labor, and anything that might make the project more difficult. The size of the job is typically determined by our comfort advisors. They are experts in the HVAC field. They come out to your house to take a personalized look at the whole situation, see what's going on around the outside of your house, see what's going on around the inside of your house, look in the basement if they need to look in the basement, look in the attic if they need to look in the attic. And their experienced eyes will help determine if there's anything that's going to make an install more difficult, so they can catch that and make sure that the pricing is going to be fair to you and to us. We bill our customers. We expect a $500 signing deposit when you first sign the contract, and this is just so that we can immediately start pulling permits and ordering equipment without worrying about, whether we're going to lose money on those fees immediately if you do decide that you need to cancel the project for whatever reason later on. And then at least 3 days before we show up to start the project, we do require a 50% deposit for the remaining balance of the project, and that's really going to cover, at that point, all of our equipment is now in-house, and it makes sure that we can pay our vendors for that and make sure that, if we send guys out for that first day, that their wages are covered for that day as well. And then the remaining 50% is due at completion of the project. As soon as we turn that system on and it's working in your house, then we expect final payment. Home service pricing is so confusing because it's custom based on your exact situation, and every house is different. Here in Massachusetts, we have houses that were built last year and houses that were built 250 years ago, and there's a huge range of differences that you'll find in those houses. And so that's part of why home service pricing is so confusing. The other part is that there are a couple of different ways that companies will do it. On the install side, it's more typical to see a flat price based on what they expect labor hours to be and what they expect materials to cost. But on the general services front, once we open up the walls in your house, we have no idea what we're going to find back there. We could open up the wall, and we've had this happen where we open up the wall and there's nothing back there and it's easy to work on. Or we open up the wall and there's another wall behind it, or things like that. Anything could be hidden behind a wall, and you can't see that when your comfort advisor is walking around your house, because obviously when somebody's quoting you for an HVAC project, you're not ripping open the walls in your house to show them what's behind it. We use flat rate pricing on all of our install projects because we like the stability that provides for the customer. It works well with our financing partners. If you're using the heat loan, they want a contract that's signed that has a flat rate on it. They know it's not going to change. They know that you're going to have your full project covered by the heat loan as much as they allow. And that's true with our other financing partners as well. It also protects the customer in the case that we open up your walls and there's something really funky back there, unless it's significantly outside of the scope of what we agreed to do. If we open up the walls and we find that you have knob and tube wiring in your house, that's something that we're not going to rewire your entire house as part of this project. But if there's just something that's a little funky, like, we need to cut an extra hole, that flat rate pricing includes any little tiny fixes like that. Some shops like to charge time and material, which is a little bit more flexible. And if everything in your house is exactly the way that it is expected to be, and the whole project is going to run totally smoothly, that might end up being a little bit cheaper for you. But if you end up having something funky in your walls, or something goes wrong with the project in any way, as things often do in construction, and that timeline starts to run over, or you need extra materials, you end up footing the rest of that bill totally out of pocket, and it could be a total surprise what that amount is. Our pricing on any installation project includes a 1-year labor warranty. It's all the permits, all the materials, all the labor, and then a 1-year labor warranty so that if any unexpected problems come up in that first year that we didn't necessarily catch at first install, you're still protected. We'll come out and fix it immediately as fast as we can to make sure that you are happy and comfortable in your home. Our money first goes to pay the techs their time. Payroll is the first expense that we pay on any project. And then it goes to our distributors, all of our equipment and materials. We have to make sure that our distributors are paid for that. And then it goes into things like overhead. So we make sure that our rent is paid. We make sure that, all of the software that we use to make sure that you have a smooth experience throughout the process is all paid. Any other expenses of running a business, upgrades for our fleet of vans to make sure that the guys are driving safe vehicles and they're not going to get stranded on the side of the road. That kind of thing. Make sure that the business continues to operate smoothly and provide the best customer service that we can.
For all your heating and cooling needs, you need Endless Energy.